ULTY was one of the most popular Max ETFs, but then lately has been least favorite because of what has done. And what has done is literally outperformance. Even though there was like a little effort by Tidal Trust trying to turn this thing around, but it seems that the effort that they put into trying to save this ETF hasn't worked as planned. So in today's video, I'm going to show you YieldMax Ultra Option Income Strategy, what this ETF has done and how much you can invest as of today and generate a lot of money, either as today or you want to invest it for long term. And also I'm going to show you some of my holding that I have. YieldMax Ultra Option Income Strategy ETF, which is ULTY. The price of today is $7.91. On Friday, the market overall went down crazy for most ETFs and for most stocks, of course, because this is following some underlying stocks, which I'm going to show you. Now, that was 4%. It's a huge decline from 8 something to 791. Market cap is 270 million. That is the money invested in this. So that's very low compared to other YieldMax ETFs. For example, Tesla right now has almost 1.7 billion. That's a huge difference. The return is only 2.5%, but I'm going to show you other total return on this chart here. We have two. There's a dark green and a little bit lighter green. They say with a drip, with no drip. If you invested your money since beginning of the time, since this ETF was incepted, you would have 10,631, which is about 6%. If you invested from beginning and you reinvest all your money, that means you haven't lost anything. But let's say, for example, you take all income and you did not reinvest, your portfolio is going to be only 10,087. That's just including the price. Of course, you're going to have less money, but if you take all the distribution that you've received, you haven't lost anything. Because a lot of people, when they look at these ETFs, they say this ETF is down, but they don't count distributions that they've received. You have to put all the distribution and all the dividends into the picture of your overall total return, whether it's positive or negative. In this case, of course, it's going to be all positive. But share price is down 59% and dividend has been decreasing. So there's no increase in dividends. Look at these other charts. We can see the dividends just keep going down and the share price also has gone down. The YieldMax Ultra Option Income Strategy opened at 2042. We just kept going down 5 days. It came from 839 to where it is right now at 796. 1 month, it's negative 10%. 6 months has lost 30%. By the way, this is just a price return without counting all the distribution you've received. Year to date, you've only lost 11.81%. 1 year, you've lost 61%. Again, this does not include all the distributions and dividend you've received. 2-week range in price is between $7.01 to $20.55. Volume is very high at 5,300,000, but average volume is about 2 million. With this amount of volume, 5 million, I wish you were able to write call options or any type of volatility option on these ETFs. I know Roundhill ETF, you can write call option and other type of option, but for YieldMax, I'm not 100% sure if you're allowed to do that or if some brokerage will allow you to do option. For people who might not be familiar with ULTY, ULTY is a YieldMax Ultra Option Income Strategy, and ULTY is an actively managed ETF. Yield is 88, but if you take all the distributions and you average them out, the yield is higher than these distributions. The first time they paid was March 18, 2024. And the last distribution they paid in February 7th, 2025. It has been paying a distribution for about a year. Fund overview, YieldMax Ultra Option Income Strategy, ULTY, is an actively managed fund that seeks to generate income from a portfolio of cover call strategies, each on an underlying security. ULTY also provide direct or indirect exposure to the share price return of the underlying security, subject to limit on potential investment gains for each such security. If we look at the investment objective as any other YieldMax ETF or any of the cover call ETF, the primary investment objective is to seek current income and secondary investment objective is to seek exposure to share price return of the underlying security. I'm going to show you those stock they are talking about here, subject to a limit on potential investment gains for each such security. There's always a limit on investment gain. For example, If Tesla stock goes up, let's say by 100%, your ETF is now going to capture the return of Tesla. Here's why: because they are writing calls, there's a selling, so that means they're going to sell whenever it hits, let's say, 80%. So you're only going to capture 80%. But in return, you're going to receive distributions, right? And dividend. That can make a difference between your total gain versus the price return of the underlying security. Now, also, if it goes down, with most ETFs, you might be protected because it's not going to go all the way down to where it is, but it depends on how they do the strategy. Fund information: ULTY, the ticker symbol. Fund was incepted on February 28th, 2024, trade on New York Stock Exchange. Net expense ratio is 1.14. This is how much you're paying managers to invest in this ETF, but you're getting a distribution over 90%. That means your distribution is enough to pay this almost 100 times. Net asset is 269 million. It's a little bit lower because a lot of people used to own this ETF and they sold out of this, and that's why it has decreased. It hasn't grown up as much compared to other YieldMax ETFs. For example, NVDY is billions of dollars. Compared to this one, it's like a little baby. NAV is 793, very low. Share outstanding has about 34 million. Median 30-day spread is 0.12%. This is the difference between a bid and ask price. Performance overall has returned only 0.1%. Top 10 holding for ULTY: there is Arista Network, there's Canva Group, there's Coinbase, and there is CrowdStrike. With Arista, there's a call option and put option. Both of them expires on February 25th, 2025. Canva Group also has call option and put option that expires on February 25th, 2025. Coinbase has option, call, and put, expires on the same date, February 25th, 2025. And there's a CrowdStrike. I'm going to show you more. Here we have all the holdings: Arista Network, there is Canva Group, Coinbase, Dell, First American Government Obligation. This is a bond. Remember, some ETF they hold directly, some ETF indirectly. So they have to have government bonds. Of course, they use this as collateral, and also they collect some income from the bond because bond right now have high yield. Him and hers 6%. Robinhood Market is about 3%. They have Intuit 2%. They have Mara and Moderna. Remember, these stocks, they both have ETF. There's a MicroStrategy, Netflix, Nvidia, Palantir, Reddit, Roku, NewScale. There's Directional Daily Semiconductor Bull 3X. So this is a leverage ETF they're holding. So they not only they hold stocks, but also they have some crazy ETFs like this one. They have Direction Daily Small Cap Bull 3X. ULTY has a lot of Directions daily leverage ETFs. Whenever you see 3X bull or bear, these are leveraged ETF. They can make a lot of money in a short period, but also you can lose a lot of money if you're holding them for a long time. They also have a pro share call option and put option. They have a Tesla, Uber, Upstart, Vative, Block, and Block also is one of the ETFs that YieldMax has. So a lot of holdings and a lot of call and put option on all the holding that they have. But we'll see if this strategy will pay off. If you feel ULTY is not an ETF for you because of its volatility and uncertainty that they have, you can invest in a lot of other ETFs from YieldMax. They have a bunch of them here. Most of these single stock ETFs, I talked about them. And one of the top one here is MSTY and MVDY. They've done great so far. And one of the worst here is MRNY. This is a Moderna stock. Right now is only $3, so it's very low. But if you want to take a risk, it's one of the ETF you can consider buying. I'm going to show you an ETF that I personally like a lot. Also, one of the ETFs that they have are popular fund of funds. This is YMAX, YMAG, 5V feet. And ULTY is the one I'm talking about today. They have YieldMax short. If you want to buy short, you can invest in Crash, Fiat, DEPS, and YQQ. I personally don't like any of these ETFs, but one of the best here I would maybe think about is Fiat or Crash, because these are one of the very volatile. So it depends if you want to put them as part of your overall portfolio, there's no problem with that. But I wouldn't put too much money in any of these. They also have YieldMax Target 12 ETFs. These are ETFs that came out just a few months ago. There's a Biggie and Soxy. They have Dorsey Wrights, Feet, and Fivey. They have YieldMax Portfolio ETF, lfgy and GPTY. lfgy tracks crypto, and this one tracks AI and tech stocks. And the last but not the least are brand new ETFs that came out: SDTY, S&P 500, zero day to expiry government ETF, and qdte. This is a Nasdaq 100, zero day to expiry government ETF. If you want to know any of these ETFs, I check my channel, and you can just put ticker symbol on my channel. You can find most of these ETF. I talked about them in detail. My top ETF that I have from YieldMax is ymax. This is a fund of fund that invests in most of YieldMax ETFs. They include all those ETF in this one, and that's why I really like this ETF. But it hasn't done great, but it hasn't lost as much. So when I started buying this was 1,800 shares, and the first distribution was the biggest. Even though I had a little bit less shares, the dividend I got was 550 for that week. The following week I get 434. Then I kept buying until I reached 2,000 shares, because that was my plan. Remember, you have to have a plan and strategy in place. I really wanted to reach about 2,000 shares, then I would stop. 2,000 shares at the price of today, this is over $30,000 USD, guys. That's a lot of money, right? So I don't want to put a lot of money in just one ETF. I know I want to diversify, and I have other stocks. My portfolio is over 4 times this, but this is just one of the examples I always like to show you. One point they pay very low, and that was January 17th. Even though I had 2,000 shares, I only get half of what I get when I had 1,800 shares. So that was disappointing, but nevertheless, I'm just holding this ETF for long term. What I'm going to do with this income here, right now I'm just accumulating, and I want to start another position in any of these brand new ETF from YieldMax. I'm going to make a full video on my plan for ymax and for this distribution I'm receiving and other distribution from other ETFs. Stay tuned. If you like this type of content, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you can always receive an update whenever I release a new video. Now let's go to income guide for ULTY, how much you can invest and make a lot of money. There are 2 ways to go about this. The first way is to put a lot of money and use your distribution you're receiving and pay all your bills. And another way is to invest only $5,000, and that $5,000 reinvest all distribution, and that will make you a lot of money in a few years. So we're going to look how long it's going to take you before you become a millionaire and be self-sufficient to retire and just use your portfolio to do everything you want to do in your life. The first thing, we are looking at distribution. Average is 93 cents. Since inception has paid about $11.13. If we take the price of today, $7.91, you add to your distribution you received, total value is $19. If you drip, of course, it's going to be more. Using our average distribution and our price of today, that's annual yield of 141%. That's a lot. So with this yield, how much you're going to make with $5,000? You're only going to make $588 monthly income, and that's $7,054. If you quadruple that to $25,000, you're going to get $35,000 annual income. $50,000 is going to give you $70,544. I would say if you invested $50,000, and if we use the same average distribution of today, $50,000 will be enough for you to retire, because you're going to get about $6,000. For most people, I think it's a lot of money. Now, if you want to go even further, you put 100,000, that's 11,757 or 141 annual income. If you put 150, you're going to get 17,637, and that's over 200,000. If you put 200,000, you're going to get over $250,000. Let's go all the way to 500,000. That's 700,000 annual income. But any person who is not crazy will put that 500,000 in one ETF. The money that most people can play with is between 5,000 all the way to 100,000. Depends on how much you have in your portfolio. Let's say you have $1 million portfolio. If you put $100,000, that's only 10% of your portfolio. So even if you lose this, you only lose 10%. So it's not bad for people who are rich. But if you're not rich, if you're just an average Joe, maybe 5,000 to 25,000, that's a money I can say most people can play with. Now let's look at another calculation. This calculation is based off the same yield that I've showed you earlier of 141 and average distribution. But even if we change this to 88% based off the current yield that you just paid, it's still going to make a lot of money. Your capital you start with is only $5,000. We've seen $5,000 is not going to make you a lot of money, but if you take the $7,000 you received, you reinvest back. Year 2, your portfolio is going to be 21,000. Year 3, 52,000. Year 4, 99,000. Year 7, 400,000. And your distribution at that point will be 135. Now your yield keeps going down. It's based off the formula that is calculated here. Now, year 10, your portfolio is going to be 1,129,000. And at that point, you're going to receive annual dividends or distribution of 300,000. So those are two ways you can invest in ULTY and have the income projection for 2025. The first way is to invest only $5,000 to 500,000 and use your distribution, pay your bills today. Or you can take all this distribution you're receiving and reinvest, and that will turn your portfolio from $5,000 in 10 years, which is going to be 2035, to over $1 million portfolio. That's all I have for today's update. If you like this content, again, smash the like button. And if you don't want to miss this stuff of income guidance for your income and passive income journey, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell button. And what do you think about this ETF? Are you interested to invest in ULTY, or are you interested to maybe buy another ETF rather than sticking your money to an ETF that doesn't have maybe a great future in your mind, or you think there are a lot of uncertainty? Let me know in the comment below. I want those comments because those comments allow me to know what investors, what people are thinking about these ETFs. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you next one. Bye-bye.